Um, Thank you very much for being here today. I really appreciate you, brother. Um, that video that you posted up on your Instagram, I had to go ahead and post it real quick. And then I did not know that so many people were that was actually going to resonate with so many people, and it did. And that was like, wow. When I heard it, when I first heard the message, I got a quickening through my body immediately. And I was like, he's telling the truth. Why is this resonating? Why is this resonating? I don't understand why this message is resonating. So when I go, I get to check in with everybody, all my spiritual team. I get to check in with everybody, even angels. I was like, so is it true what this man said? So I'm like, remember the whole rundown. I'm like, listen to this whole message. They be like, yeah, everything he said was true. I said, oh. I said, okay, this is very real. I need to get this up to my audience and let them hear this. And then when I put the video up on my Instagram and then they started listening to it, I can't believe the amount of response I got there, the amount of response I got on a Telegram. You know, you saw the numbers as far as the comments and stuff, they were going ham. So now that I have you, could you just explain to my audience who you are?
Okay, so I started off as a little boy being initiated into the Vadum by my big mama. Her name was Mother Margaret. In the process of that, I was also brought up a gangster disciple under Larry Hoover, right? But they moved me from Chicago as a child. So I grew up in the city in Michigan called Pontiac. And from this city, my legendary knuckle game reached outside of the city through the state and into other states. And from there, I began to journey through these various different schools of learning, triggered by my position as a rank and file member under Larry Hoover. I went to prison. I did 16 years and some change in the Michigan Department of Corrections. And while I was in there, I turned my prison term into a university stint. Because if I'm gonna be in prison, I might as well get the greatest benefit from the condition I was in. So I wasn't in prison in my mind. I was at the Monastery University. So I was doing spiritual research on my own. I was doing varying different fields. So I was given messages along the way from sisters like you that lit the path. So ain't none of this like I was just some smart ass motherfucker. I had the capacity, but I needed the instruction and the guidance of the sisters in order to get to where I'm at. So I had to follow the divine feminine, run from the karmic, and follow the wisdom that was dropped as breadcrumbs along the path. My father lines, you muted. You muted yourself again.
Yeah, I did that by accident. So a lot of people do know who Larry Hoover is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some people that don't know who Larry Hoover is. They would ask a lot of questions. They know him from, some people know that did the research on him, know him for what he got in trouble for, so forth and so on.
Right.
But then there's other ones, the younger generation, they know about him from Rick Ross, Big Beast, Larry Hoover, that whole thing, you know what I'm saying? So they know it from that. But I want you to explain to the audience who Larry Hoover really is, why he's so important to the indigenous people of America, and why do they have him in the most maximum security prison they could possibly have him in? Let's talk about that. Who is he?
Absolutely. Larry Hoover is the chief of what we call in the Americas the Blue Lodge, which consists of a confederation of tribal nations. They tried to tell us that we came over here on some ships, but that ain't got nothing to do with us. We was already here.
Right.
Right. So the chief of the land right now, the reigning chief, because his soldier unraveled the mystery of the ages in order to set our people free, is Larry Hoover. His left-hand man is Chief Malik Angel Bay, formerly known as Jeff Ford, from the Black Keystone Nation. This is Chicago Education 101. His right-hand man is off the West Coast, known as Big Tukey. Now, we are under the false impression that Big Tukey is no longer with us, but that's incorrect. Big Tukey was extracted by a special team from the Department of Corrections, using that as a cloak in order to be able to get him out of the condition so he don't have to die for this bullshit. Now, Larry Hoover is my chief. He is the leader of the gangster disciple nation that I came up under. So in Chicago, he's legendary, even as far north as Minnesota, as far south as Atlanta. As far west as California, they know who he is in the street. But a lot of what we call civilians, those who just walk around and go about their daily life, may not have a clue that he is the rightful chief of the Blue Lodge, and Jeff Ford is the rightful defense arm of the Red Lodge, Chief Mufti. So his job, when they rushed him, they sacked your military general of the land. Jeff Ford and Larry Hoover are together the unity of our people in manifest form in the physical reality because of the treaties that we agreed to before the invaders, during the invasion, and now post-invader era is where we going next.
Okay, and so would you care to share with the people what they really are?
They're chieftains of the land. They indigenous chiefs of the land. I needed 3 high chiefs to sign off on me. One of them that signed off on me was Larry Hoover. He was my chief. The second one to sign off on me was Jeff Ford, which was family by blood, by marriage, right? So the next one I need to sign off on me, I needed a West Coast chief, which turned out to be the Crip, which was Tukey. Now I had 2 Blue Lodge leaders, chiefs, and 1 Red Lodge chief. Now the only way that I can go all out is I still need 1 more Red Lodge chief to give me the gateway, to open the door, to let me in, to come and see if I can pass all of these mental tests that I had to take in order to get to this level where I can tell the people the messages and they can know that I'm not for the games. I'm going to tell it, and I'm going to tell the truth, and I don't care who don't like it. I don't care who get offended. The truth going to be the truth. What's right going to be what's right. And this is our shit. This land that they call America, it was formerly known as a Moor Inca. They telling us we Moors, but they ain't telling us it's 2 factions in a long-standing war of mental combat, using all forms of non-physical combat. So you're using mind warfare, mental warfare. The problem is that while we was honoring the rules to the game, they was cheating. Every time one of us rose up that can take the test, they killed him. They shot him dead in the street, just took him out of the picture. So we had to figure out a way, how do we keep them from physically killing them before they take the test? Because that's how they kept us from getting back in power. None of the chieftains was allowed to exercise the blood right to the throne and to exercise the matriarchal right to the land and tie the 2 together in order that we can show these people that this is our shit. We've been here. We not going nowhere. We didn't come packed like no sardines on no ship for 6 months with no bathroom, no running water, no toilets, and no goddamn mess hall kitchen like a cruise ship today. They didn't have none of that. So that don't have nothing to do with us. So when they start telling you about a slave ship, they're telling you a narrative to distract you. And those were our invaders that look just like me and you, sister. The white man ain't white. He looked darker than us with nappier hair than mine. And they call my shit moody grass and wool. So them niggas that came over here, they call themselves the white man because it's a chest turn. As the invaders called conquistadors. The Conjure War started a little over 200 years ago, and the challenge was at the end of the 200-year Conjure, which ended on July the 4th, 2019. So at the conclusion of the Conjure War, we not supposed to know who we is from who the invader is, according to the George Washington, first president of the interim government that was installed to referee the Conjure War. We got sacked from the blind side. During the Conjure War, where we was going to see if we could remember who we was, they kept killing all of the ones that rose to tell us who the fuck we was and what was going on. One of the most important ones they killed, was they beat him to death, was Timothy Drew, actually known as Noble Drew Ali, Morris Science Temple of America, High Chief of the Cherokee Nation, right? Those people they've been telling us is the indigenous people of the land. We call them Dawes Act Indians. So if you look up the Dawes Act, they call them $5 Indians because of the Dawes.
Yeah.
Those people were Mongolian POWs that the conquistadors had as slaves, that they masqueraded as us, signed the treaties with them, not us. So then they enforced the treaty on us as if it was our treaty. And that's why these people that don't look like us been telling us your own people did it for all this time. It wasn't us, it was your own people. This is what they talking about. I used to get pissed off and punch them in the mouth for that shit. Don't tell me my people done no dumbass shit like this. Well, they ain't our people. They just look like our people. And that's why we couldn't break the motherfucking chains of psychological slavery, because they were steering the narrative to always keep us chasing the carrot on the stick. So once I got Farrakhan to agree, he was the last one, because he was holding Elijah Muhammad's lodge right. What we call it a lodge right is his chief feathers is held by the Nation of Islam. The feathers is symbolic of the aura for the gods when they walk the physical earth. We call them the bays. And the war was between the bays and the elves. And what we had to do was we had to put a bay in the place of every one of their elves, while they try to put an L in the place of every one of our bays. And in the process of this, he who can come out the end being walking the underbelly of society and still not be corrupted by the society, and learn with the blood right how to read the language of these motherfuckers that they use in our face every day. With every McDonald's sign, Burger King sign, with every AutoZone post, newspaper, they got signs and everything you see. We don't know their language. Well, I know their language now. So we had to send different people to get pieces of it, and then I had to put all that shit together. And so in the process of this, we had to extract a lot of our people that was marked for death, like Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle, on my page on YouTube, I actually have the actual picture of the guy who pushed the button to assassinate Nipsey Hussle, so that Nipsey can't never give me the keys in order that he had collected to get us out this shit, but they failed. Nipsey was extracted by Farrakhan's Nation of Islam, FOI. They extracted him to keep him from actually getting murdered, because it was a murder order given to kill Nipsey Hussle. His mother described the murder order when she's seeing it, in order to give me the clue, because she the only one I'm gonna listen to. And she said, in order for me to find out who put the hit on Nipsey, she said in the quote, she said, and I saw the picture, and my son was all lit up. So when I found the picture, he literally had lights all over Nipsey Hussle. Light that nigga up wherever you see him at. So now we got one option and one option only. Nipsey have to be extracted or he's going to be a dead motherfucker. So the nation extracted him. If you don't believe me, ask Rizza Islam, because he was boots on the ground on the scene.
Yes, he was.
Why the
yes,
fuck?
he was. I was living in California at that time when that whole thing went down. That was really crazy. That was really crazy.
Put his ass in the hot seat. Put his ass in the hot seat. Said Morpheus the General said you was boots on the ground, eyes on Nipsey, making sure. His mama told you I was there, and they never mentioned me. Why they don't mention her? Because she would have told him, why you think none of his family ain't going to court? It's a stage show over top of reality in order to keep our people, our chieftains, from getting murdered by these rotten motherfuckers in real life. That's why they ain't going to court. And that shit ain't real. So when they say Big U pushed the button on Nipsey, Big U had to give the okay for Nipsey to be extracted because he was Nipsey's, he was to Nipsey what Larry Hoover is to me. So they had to get his okay to remove Nipsey to save Nipsey's life. It's the same thing with Tupac. His mama had to sign off on it. They matriarchal in the Panthers. They don't even do patriarchal orders like that. Afeni had to give the okay to extract Tupac while he was in the hospital from the failed attempt. But they ran 3 routes at least. Because if you look at the pictures, you're going to find that it's 3 different so-called murder scenes or shooting scenes for the Vegas shooting. Right? And so what happened to Biggie? The same thing. There's no way that this is called the war dance. This is how they call the next in line to fight these motherfuckers without us losing it's war strategy. We've been at war. While everybody else going along to get along ass motherfuckers, we've been fighting a war for our shit. And this is just all it is to it. This is our shit. And it's always going to be produced because the prayers of our nation is always answered through the womb of the woman. And every time this shit get bad, sooner or later, mama gonna produce a baby. And that nigga gonna grow up and tell y'all how to get out of the condition no matter what it is. I just so happen to be the one. This time. I'm the one they don't never want to call, and I'm always the last resort. No matter what the fight is, I'm going to figure out how to win that motherfucker. And so they told me it's a brain banging game. Larry said, we ain't gang banging no more. We brain banging now. That means think, nigga. It's a mental game. If you're going to be in this shit, you have to be able to think higher than all of these motherfuckers in order to see them coming. And ain't now one of them caught up with me yet. The only motherfuckers that knew who I was while I was studying was Larry Hoover, Malachi Z. York, that was framed. He ain't touched none of them kids, by the way. Somebody asked earlier about that. That was a frame job. How do I know? Because they say he gave them all the same strain of herpes. The problem is, none of his medical records have him as having herpes. He don't got it. He can't give them something he don't got. And he can't not catch something coming in contact with it if he's supposed to be the carrier.
Yes, that is correct. And actually, I did find out the story, the backstory behind that. There was somebody that was advising him on the legal side. And basically, this individual knew the private side very well in terms of law. And what he told me was that where he messed up at, he was actually free on the case to go. But they said that where he messed up at was when the judge asked him a question, and he said, well, I'm just going to have my attorneys, any questions you have for me, just make sure you have my attorneys answer the question. So he contracted. And so they got him on a technicality in terms of why they arrested him. He actually beat the case. He actually beat the case, was on his way out the door until the judge asked him a question. And when he made that comment, asked my attorneys, that was it. They went ahead and locked him up. So I do know about that. But let me ask you this. That's deep, what you just told me. That's really deep. But let's talk about who Larry Hoover really is in terms of how he got his position, because I want to lead up to the incident that took place in Mexico. But before I go into the incident that took place in Mexico, I need my people to understand who Larry really is, because to my understanding, he's basically looked at as an heir, correct?
Yeah,
He is an heir to King. Is he an heir to King David?
right. So when
Okay,
you
so
see
how
in
did
the
that
Bible,
happen?
and you see in the Bible the story of David and Solomon, that's the story of David Barksdale and Larry Hoover in Chicago that was put out in the Bible through the Masonic Lodge, right? So our people are born on schedules according to a stellar clock. We ain't born haphazardly. So they already knew who David Barksdale would be. They already knew who Larry Hoover would be. They knew who the traitor King Saul was. Well, he's no longer here, so we don't worry about him, who he was. But they also knew who the military arm was. The advisor general to Solomon's army that David told him in the book. He said, "This when it's time to come, turn this motherfucker loose, and he gonna lay waste all your enemies." And Larry never gave the okay to the disciple nation to roll out when Jeff was on the street, because he could never get the foothold he needed to turn Jeff loose, because Jeff is the lawkeeper of the land. He's the chief mufti of the land, of the indigenous tribes. He is the highest ranking policing official of this land. The invaders have him as a POW. None of their laws apply to us. All of their laws is what you call a corporate internal code.
Yes.
Because what they call in the United States of America, the 10 mile of DC, only cover 10 square miles. The jurisdiction is on tribal land if it's outside of the 10 square miles. The only way that you can contract outside of the 10 square miles is through what they call postal authority, meaning mailboxes. The mailboxes give them a de facto jurisdiction that extends around each postal box, which is one on every house.
Yeah.
And that's what they're using to establish what they call a long arm jurisdiction, which is still a false jurisdiction. How do you know? Because they tell you in their law, all law is commercial, meaning that it's a business transaction. They tell you that the United States is a corporation, and in the same law tell you that no corporation can exercise a sovereign right.
That's correct.
Then in the same law turn around and tell you that those with a sovereign right is not subject to the jurisdiction of any corporation. But the people are following it because they are contracting with them through Social Security cards, birth certificates, and driver's license. These are legitimizing the illegitimate system.
Yeah.
Right? I had no knowledge of this until I went and hit the books and studied their system. Because I called a couple of our elders, one of them was nearly full, and told me I have to look at it like a warden run a prison. Hell, I did 16 years. I'm gonna figure this shit out if that's why I gotta look at it. Because I understand how the prison industrial complex works. So the school don't got nothing to do with education. The school is a training center for prison and work. When you come out of school, you got two primary options. You're going to either not go along with their system, then you mark for prison, or you're going to go along with their system, they're going to throw you in the workforce. And when you find that doesn't suit your personality, character, and who you are as a being, and you rebel, then they're going to put you in prison. Then they want you to work for crumbs. right? So like you have the auto workers. They've been losing and losing and losing for 30 plus years on every contract with no recovery program because the motherfuckers that's doing their negotiations is asking the motherfuckers they negotiating with, what you think we ought to give them this time, boss? On some go along to get along ass shit. And they look like us and they look like them. Both sides of the fence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They
So
all
we're talking about a brotherhood here. Like when I
yes.
hear you, when I hear you use the word lodges and things like that, I'm hearing a brotherhood. Now, how did he actually become king? How did Larry actually become king of the indigenous people of North America?
Um the GDs is the largest of the tribes that grew out of the 50s vice lord split. All the vice lord is the parent tribe to all of us,
Okay.
but it's a matriarchal tribe. So there's the queen of the vice lords that was my mother, right? And she split the lodge to protect the children. Specifically her children, but she was protected more than that but everybody didn't follow her lead. But she blessed in Jeff Ford as Black Peastone Chief Mufti Enforcer because he was fearless. And then she blessed Larry because my father was the leader of the Blue Lodge, Mississippi backwood born, blues singing country nigger. That's the Blue Lodge. The blues singers was in our history. When you look at it, you will hear about us carrying the beat on the drum to tell the other tribes what's taking place. Well, the blues was that. The blues gave birth to rock and roll, pop, and hip hop. Hip hop was our old way, what we call knocking for masters. What that is passing knowledge in bites from each one of us through means of what we call wind talking. Wind talking, you get the message. So we telling each other. They made a movie about it called Wind Talkers, if you remember. If you need more background, that's a good place to start because it tells you that our code is uncrackable. Only we know how to read that shit. And when we find out that they was using our shit to keep us in bondage, it sent us to work. You can't never use nothing that we created to oppress us. We gonna figure that shit out. So they told us voodoo was evil because it was our shit. And they didn't want us using it so that they could use it in secret. This is what they secret lodges was doing. And this is why Farrakhan told the lodges, white Shriners, white Masons, I'm exposing all of y'all secrets. And he said, Black Shriners, Black Masons, y'all don't have no secrets because we always did our shit out in the open. They did it in secret because if we don't see it, we can't adjust for it. We don't know it's being done because it's that subtle. So they gave us a character chase called Jesus. But Jesus was a code. And Jesus is a code for ISIS. And how do you know? Because Greek for Jesus is ISIS. Wasn't no J until 500 years ago. We got the J from King James who translated the book. The J is actually a fish hook. The one that can figure out how to straighten the fish hook really is a fisher of men because he's taking a J and turning it into a T because he squares off the left and the right. The ones that bump too righteous, he gonna bump their ass so they straighten up and see it for what it really is. And the ones that bump too wrong, they gonna get beat pillar to post until they bump straight. It's not personal, it's family business. And they took our family business and used it against us and told us it was evil, told us it was wicked. But it was the only thing that they feared because it was the only thing ever worked against them. If you don't believe me, study the Haitian Revolution.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This come from far reaching.
Yeah. Dessalines. Dessalines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how did so he got what did she do? So did she crown him king? Like what did she do?
I wasn't on site there, Larry and Jeff, I had to tell you how they was actually christened because
Right.
but it was done in the church meeting, and the church meeting was across from where Kennedy King College is in Chicago.
Okay.
So that's where the strategy was hatched when my big mama told them who I was gonna be when I grow up. She called me Baron Samadi. If you know the voodoo, you know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
And she told them that I didn't have no fear and that I was gonna open the way for everybody if they just listen. So that's the lore I was blessed with. What most people don't know is they trace back to the 7 African powers, and we work on a system of ranking next one call the next one higher till we get a high enough authority to shut the door on their ass. When they came in the first time, we had training chieftains in training, learning to control masses of people and resources so that nobody's taken advantage of. Well, they killed them all off in the physical. And you have to be in the physical world to take the test. And in the physical world, you got to have both the blood right of both sides, the mother lodge and the father lodge, the blue lodge and the red lodge.
Gotcha.
And this is what make you become what they call a royal seed, purple.
Okay.
Right. So this is what Prince was talking about, purple rain. This is the purple. The purple rain is the rain of the royal family, the purple haze. But the haze is a native indigenous word that's been distorted. It's supposed to be Haya, which is short for Hayoka. Hayoka is the sacred chiefs of the land. So when you read in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, it tell you whenever this shit get too far out of hand, there's powers of the earth that we call upon in order to fix it. These is what you call the Orishas. We are the titans of the earth. We the ones that whoop their ass every time they come here. And this is the last time because now they allow the first titan that they never wanted to take the test, which they call Thoth in Egypt, and they call him Sun Wukong in China. They call him Hanuman in India. They call him Nimrod in the Middle East. It's the same motherfucker. The only motherfucker they ever been worried about taking the test because they know that every one of their tricks don't work on me. So they always either kill me early or keep the next one from calling me to power so I can't never take charge because nobody never gave me the baton to run the race. So I became what you know as the black stone, the rejected stone. I was originally supposed to be born under the 5. But if I was born under the 5, that it killed me quick. So because of who my father was, they concealed me under the 6. So this is what they be talking about, a cold brick. The cold brick that they talking about is the one born under the zodiac sign of Scorpio, which is the water sign in its fixed position state. The water in its fixed position makes a block of ice, a cold brick. Right? Now, how do you know where the cold brick at? You have to know how the enemy is dyslexic. So what we do is we flip the B into a D, flip the D into a P, flip the P into a 9, and then we run that motherfucking cycle so it look like a butterfly in their face. They call that the butterfly effect. They can't tell a P from a 9. They can't tell a B from a D, but we can. They inherently get it fucked up when you flip them. So we can flip all of them in order to see the butterfly effect of where we at, what's been done, what need to be done to correct the problem. So we here to correct the problem. I'm not here to take it personal. I'm not here to listen to what somebody else said. I'm just here to fix it. So now that it's fixed, we are getting the instructions because I was able to accomplish all of the tasks given me. Hanuman, with the Hanuman key, Hanuman completes every task. Because I was able to complete every task, they want to communicate with me and tell me who they want to talk to. Because I'm under Larry Hoover, he is my chief. I am just a general in his military. So the stone that the builder rejected that becomes the chief cornerstone is, once this is all over, then they all give honors to the one that broke us all free. That's how it worked. And the connection with our star elders was the freedom pass, because the bet was that, one, we would never figure out that we was already here. Two, we wouldn't know the real us from the invader conquistadors, Spaniards. They was called the Etruscan Moors. And when they did, if they was able to even do all that, nobody had the brain capacity to solve all of the shit that they would have to go through. And if they had the brain capacity, nobody would suffer willingly, freely enough, because you can't work. You're not allowed to work while you taking the test. You're not allowed to socialize unless the only way I could socialize, one of the queens have to come and take me out the cave. But even if that happens, it's going to be a negative consequence if I'm not supposed to leave with that particular one. If a negative consequence arises, she not us. She one of them pretending to be us. So I went through all that shit, took all of their tests. I passed them all, completed every task. I showed them who I was, who Larry was, who Jeff was, who Tukey was, who T. Rogers was, who Tupac was, who Biggie Sitting Bull was. I told them who Geronimo Pratt, Chief Geronimo, Black Panther, Black Liberation Army, Black Panther Brigade, military, special forces, special ops, released out in the Mississippi, went to California to set the record straight on what the real Panthers was about. I did all that shit. I went in everybody's history and told them their own history, because that was part of my job, and it's all time dated and recorded on Facebook. I had to switch to Instagram because the people on Facebook right now is froze and paralyzed with fear of what's taking place in real life. Shit that I've been telling them for 2 and 3 years, it's only been on Instagram like this for about 2 days. And the following right now that you have on this platform is equivalent to about what's accumulated consistent over the 3 years. You'd have had more come and go, but to see this many people seated to listen to the message, everybody's scared. They terrified to talk to me. But rightfully so, because if they on some bullshit, I'm going to call them on it. Ask Crumb. If you don't believe me, ask Crumb. He'll tell you. Because when I went to go on his platform, he was talking about sending him some money. But they told him to do that in order to see what my response would be. But he had to see if I would be able to be bought, or if I would tolerate that shit of a motherfucker telling me to sell what is rightfully ours. We teach one, we all might reach some. This our shit I'm giving y'all. This ain't my shit, it's our shit. I just was the one with the self-discipline enough to go get it. Now that I done did all of the work, the council needs to know who the nigga that sent me to go do this. They want to look him in his face, because this is not supposed to be possible with the way that we've been raised over the past 200 years. We was never supposed to produce nobody with a brain that could think like Stephen Hawkins and not give a fuck what none of these people think about in order to fix the problem. So now that they figured that somebody did this shit, figured out what they was doing, I told them motherfuckers George Bush was the highest ranking of the Illuminati in the Northwest. He had the whole of the Americas sold up. So they went and got his ass. And a lot of the shit we seeing on TV is CGI, it's animation. androids, lookalikes, clone, all the. I don't like to call all of them because all of them not clones. Only few, a hand select of them have clones. It's not as many clones as people saying, but there are
There's a lot of bunny doubles and people wearing
yes,
masks and things like that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's out there now. People are starting to figure that out now. They're starting to understand it. I talked about the military tribunals that went on when Trump was in office, and about a lot of the actors and a lot of celebrities that actually got executed, that you don't even hear about anymore.
well,
But
they're not even telling y'all DC closed. Anybody got people in DC? The White House still got a fence around it. They're not doing business there. Then
no,
you seeing Biden projecting from Castle Rock Studios in California. It's a fucking
yes,
show,
yeah.
you know.
So
So
how does that correlate to what's going on right now, where you got the mothership present right now? As far as what you were saying concerning your video about how they understand that Larry is the king. Okay,
yes,
Larry is the king, and I'm still not clear on that piece of it in terms of how he became king. I'm still not clear on just that specific piece right there. Um, are you saying that he is some? Why do they feel that he's the king? Why do they want to talk to him?
because he got the indigenous blood of the people of the land. His people is the largest tribe on the land in the Blue Lodge. The Blue
Okay,
Lodge won the Conjure War.
okay,
Larry Hoover's soldier figured out the conjure and unraveled it in real time. Because it was his soldier, that gives him what you call the superior position of right and truth on his side.
okay,
So now when we talk to God from the position of right and truth, God takes our side automatically because that's the two things that God loves. That which is righteous and that which is true.
okay.
So they say in the right hand of God, he had two thunderbolts. And then they show the picture of Zeus, it was an X. And it's the crossing of the truth and the position of right that creates the X in the right hand. Right? Then you have
Mhm.
what's known as the Upper Triad, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. When these three become unified, the understanding becomes overstanding. And the knowledge is linear left brain logic, which is father line, and the wisdom is abstract, creative, non-local information from the universe comes in through the right brain anterior gyrus, which is the mother line. So when your right eye is the mother, your left eye is the mother eye, and your right eye is the father eye. In ancient Egypt, if you were a bump straight, you had two eyes. You had a Ujet and a Uraeus. And if you had both of those, it produced what they call the Caduceus, which is the great wisdom serpent. And if you was fearless, the Caduceus rose with the buzzard. So when you look at the headgear, you know what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see
Mm-hmm.
the headdress, you see the painting of the pharaoh face with the left eye, the right eye. Then you'll see the snake or the serpent and the vulture on his head. That means he married the north and the south country to unify both lands. The
Got
fatherland,
you.
the fatherland is northern Egypt, and the motherland is southern Egypt. And the reason why they say put the woman on top, because we southern oriented. Our tradition of up for us has always been south. So they had us looking north as up, which gave us an upside down world view. When you flip the worldview, you start to see a different map emerge. Florida becomes the elephant's trunk as it rises out of the water when it's southerly oriented, and the elephant is the symbol of the grand matriarch. The grand matriarch on the land, which is the counterpart to Larry Hoover, is Mother Khadijah, because she has the largest standing group of matriarchs under her direct command. So if you want to clean this shit up, you got to clean it up on both sides of the motherfucking coin. You can't just clean half of the motherfucker. You got to clean all of it.
Right.
So that's why the book say, honor thy mother and thy father, their days may be long on this earth.
That is
Because
correct.
normally, mama's boy normally falls out with daddy because he don't like the way daddy treat mama, and they end up having the bloody fallout. But if you have a child that's a bump straight, he's not going to take sides, and he's going to try to see why is this taking place so he could fix it. He's not trying to take sides because he loves his mama and his daddy.
Right.
So this is why they was keeping us crippled with single mother households. So we all blood in our eyes, so to speak. What that does is the boys go at war. They automatically know when there's no father present, they have war to fight. Because the only reason in our history where a father wouldn't be present is we had war. And if the father ain't present, the child grows up with a warlike mentality to destroy anything in his path, and what he see on a daily basis just so happen to look like him. He don't know where the war at because ain't no generals on the field. They get killed them off. They said they was too hard. They was criminals because of the way they move. But we got a very specific mentality, and only we know how to control us. So they need to put us in boxes to control us. We even took that shit and used it to our advantage. We turned them motherfuckers into universities. They produce motherfuckers like Malcolm X going to prison. Like I can't even name them all right now. I know a lot of Huey P went to prison. George Jackson wrote that motherfucking shit from prison. You know, they can put us in there, but the walls can't stop the man. And this is where we was at. Everybody get caught up in the day-to-day life humdrum that nobody wanted to do the hard work of isolating yourself, listening to the universe talk to you, and putting this shit together, because it's hard. This shit is so fucking hard and miserable that if I had to do it again right now, I'm not sure that I would. I'm not sure that I would. Because it's very taxing on everything that you are.
So it sounds to me like this is more like when I hear the story, you know, the way it's being told, and the fact that you just broke down some stuff that was actually inserted into the book of the Bible has got my wig blown back right now. You know, my wig, and I ain't got no wig right now, but you know, it's a little bit of hair I got on my head. So let's talk about this situation that looks very dire. Now, let me just say this. Me and one of my colleagues and very good friend, who is a very powerful medium, had looked into this situation as it pertains to the ship. And what she explained to me was that just probably before that even happened, because of who she really is at the core, she had seen the lion. And when she seen him, she was explaining to me and she was describing to me how large she was. She was explaining to me how she was looking out over Mexico. She was looking over my area, and then she was just looking out over Mexico in general. And she talked about how she saw this very large lion. She ended up petting him. She was talking to him, saying, "What are you doing here?" You know, having that conversation with him and what have you. But she saw him over the region of Mexico City. And she described the size of this lion. She said, this wasn't no like like regular lion. Like this was like a ferocious beast. And I told her, I said that was probably the ship that he was talking about. And so basically, the way the information came to her was, you know, if they don't, if they don't allow this man to speak so he can say the things that he needs to say, it is exactly what you said it's going to be. They are going to light up the United States. And so let's talk about that now. Let's talk about that situation that happened down in Mexico. I looked at the video footage. I was getting a lot of hits that day or that evening. Um, People were hitting me left and right because they know I live in Mexico. They were like, "Are you good?" Yeah. Well, here's this video footage. I'm looking at the video footage and I saw it as plain as day. I said, "That's the galactic war. It's plain as day." When I saw your video, it kind of gave a lot more insight as to what that was and why it occurred. So let's talk about that and let's talk about what the relationship is, because clearly, Farrakhan's talked about the mothership, but we didn't have a full understanding that this relates to the tribe of Judah. We didn't have a full understanding that this is our galactic family. We didn't have a full understanding that that correlation right there is what this whole mothership is about. And now it appears to be that justice seems to be on its way. It seems to be a situation, but at the same time, we also discovered that judgment is on the heads of the people who did not do what they were supposed to do. And so, meaning the people that were put in position to do the things that they were supposed to do, judgment now is on their head. And I specifically heard you say in that video, I did what I was supposed to do. I don't, you was done with it. Like, I did my part. So that right there let me know that clearly they want to have a conversation with the king of the indigenous people to find out why the hell when they came back, this shit is the way that it is now.
Yes.
What was happening? Okay, so
Okay.
let's start from there.
Okay, so the message that came into me was it told me exactly what the energy weapon was. It was all it is it's a giant static ball. It's an ion accelerator that makes the ions become positively charged, and a proton accumulator which draws the positively charged particles in the upper atmosphere together, and it worked like a Tesla ball where you put your hand on it and follow your hand. Well, it's following the ship. So they'll send a small ship out to make the lightning follow it once they accumulate the first strike. It'll chase the ship because the ship has got like a magnet under it that keeps the protons in motion. So they don't never have to use what we call total destruction weaponry. They can weaponize the weather. They actually disabled HARP so that they can have sole control over the weather. They disabled.
So that's them doing that. That's not the U.S. That's not no other governments. You're saying that this is them extraterrestrials. That's them doing that.
Well, I don't even know if we can call them extraterrestrials because they from here.
Yeah.
Some of them, they from here and they from there combined. It's kind of hard. It's like we amalgamated. So let's talk about the tribe of Judah. The tribe of Judah is Israelites. Them the enemy. Flat out, unmistakably. How do I know? Jacob is the supplanter. What do supplanters do? They undermine. Who in the fuck is Jacob? According to the Nation of Islam, his name is Yaqub. And it's his devils that we fight, but they don't look pale skin. They look like us.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they able to undermine us. Because if you read secret relationship between blacks and Jews, you will find that everywhere we go, these motherfuckers there. But everywhere we go, ain't nobody pink. That don't make sense.
Okay.
They gotta look like us for us not to see them. And that's why you say, why did black people kill Malcolm? Them wasn't black people, them was white people with black skin.
I got you.
Franz Fanon wrote the book. black mask, white skin, or some shit like that. He was telling us. That's from the motherland. Frantz Fanon. From Algeria, you had Walter Rodney, destruction of the black civilization. You got motherfucking Dr. Bean telling you, them not Jews. Whoever, we don't know who them motherfuckers is, but them not Jews. Right?
Right.
When he say Jews, he don't mean Judah. He mean the jewels of God, which is the sisters of Isis, whose seat that the Pope was sitting on, which is called the Madonna seat of heaven and earth. On earth ain't no man supposed to be sitting there. If you look close, you will see her real seat is suspended over him because that motherfucker don't have the balls to sit in it. He's sitting in it, he will get an immediate backlash from the universe. So he keep it protected so nobody else can't sit in it.
That's where the temple was of those what they call the Sibyls, or the undead, or these divine feminine.
Right. So the Sibyl queens is called the sisters of Isis. They call them Sibyls because they all act like Isis as a grand matriarch wherever they at. They act just like her. So if you know how your mama heart operate, you're gonna always find one just like her. Because as long as Earth is here, the sisters of the Earth got first right to the Earth rights, which mean to conjure to call forth the elders of the star family to come and redeem this motherfucker from any rogue forces that come. They just didn't want none of us to wake up and know that all they needed was to produce one male child that could read the woman well enough to activate the father's side of the equation. Well, here I go.
So you said that the Hebrew Israelites are associated with Judah. So then what was over Mexico City? What caused that earthquake? What is this ship that you were talking about in your live earlier today? Talk to me about that.
That is exactly the one that the minister called a mother plane. That motherfucker huge. They say it's a half mile by half mile, but that's something that comes out of it. And it's been being built for almost 100 years, so you can imagine the size of it. And they use some technology that we don't even know about on Earth called phalanx developmental technology. And this is where at the atomic level, you can program the atoms to take form of something by creating what they call resonance field for it to fit in. So it's the same as the DNA having stem cells, except the stem cells got to know what to turn into. They was able to harness that same technology of the body to create the phalanx development of the atoms into the ship. But they use it by the design of programming the atom like the DNA is programmed to produce a person. The technology is the same, but the developmental outcome is different. Like we think we flesh, we really organic matter, but we are a machine. The body is a meat suit.
Yes, it is. I refer to it as that as well, and I break that down about that, right, about what we are. Yes, that is correct.
So
go ahead.
The meat suit holds something that we call a light body. The light body is the equivalent power of an entire sun. And we have a capacitor that we get directly from the earth that only you can get from the mother called mitochondria that buffers the energy down it gradually increases it as we grow and develop until we're able to facilitate what we call a full awakening. Now, if the ego self, the lower self, is not brought under control because it's a side effect of the low burning mitochondria. Mm-hmm. If the ego self is never brought under control, every time you try, you're going to flop around like a fish. In the church, they call it catching the Holy Ghost.
So let's talk about how you were aware. So was that a warning that was sent to the U.S. when that stuff went down to Mexico?
That was a global warning. It's sent to the entire planet that if, okay, so in the movies, they always made fun of us and they say, take me to your leader, right?
Yes.
Okay,
And
now,
they do not see Joe Biden as a leader. They don't see him as that.
Joe Biden, politics ain't real. Politics is a stage show.
That is correct.
So now they find that I'm a soldier of a leader, right? And as his general, right? As his general, he is the man that I have to refer them to. He sent me to crack their code. My mom sent me to crack their code. My daddy sent me to crack their code. My old lady sent me to crack their code, and my son sent me to crack their code. Right? So my son ain't even 7 years old yet. And he did his fucking part to send me to crack the code. Right? So when I crack their code, they talk to me, but they telling me, are you the leader? No, my leader is Larry Hoover. In association with, because they're dealing with all of them in this work. But he's in association with a team of leaders. The unity key was the only way to break through the final barrier at the top. And I had to get the unity key from the military general, which was the Chief Mufti Malik Angel Bey.
Yes.
So when he gave me the general key to fight the war, that was it. The unity key through the Moore Science Temple. I had codes I had to follow. I had to show this shit. It's all recorded on my my Facebook page. My Facebook page is Rod Hayes. And you look me up, my profile picture changes according to what message I'm sending back to those sent me messages. But Rod Hayes, and this, you can look through the videos. I got a couple of hundred videos on there, 100 and some videos, where I'm breaking this shit down from atomic level to galactic level and everywhere in between. If you want to know about the slave part, I got one called How Did We Get Here, part 1 and 2. And then I got Slavery Never Existed. It was a fabrication. But we really in slavery now. But what I'm talking about is that shit they be telling us in the history books didn't never happen. That's not what happened to our people.
True. So they want to talk to Larry Hoover.
Yeah.
And so now I feel like they could speak to him at any given time if they really wanted to, with the type of technology they have. They got the ways to be able to talk to him. However, you made a statement with him, being in maximum security prison. If they're not able to speak to him, the end result of what's going to be with that. And I would like for you to tell my audience exactly what that's going to be. We saw. So let me tell you what we saw. We saw that if they don't allow him to speak, because they're supposed to, but if they don't allow him to speak, all hell's going to break loose.
Okay.
And the first order of business, from my understanding, is that they're going to go after the U.S. government first.
Okay, so it's a couple of things I'm gonna answer that with. One is in Revelations when they say, and they called his name Apollyon, the Destroyer.
Yes.
Yeah, that's me. So if they don't produce Larry Hoover, right, then they get to see why they call Apollyon an iconoclast. Because every major monument that they built on this land is gonna start getting struck by lightning, just to show this is to show these motherfuckers we ain't playing. This has nothing to do with taking sides or favoritism, but they finna get a wake-up call if they don't respond. But the whole thing is now this is why they want to talk. They won't talk to him where he at. If you the king, you cannot come to them in the position of a bondservant.
That is correct.
They don't. So they want to know, why is he, as the king that produced this motherfucker. Why is he a bondservant? It doesn't make sense to them. They want to see, they want him to answer. Why in the fuck is the king of the land a bondservant right now? Why is he held in ransom? They want to know why is the chief mufti and law enforcer of the land held in ransom? These are the questions they want Larry to answer. And he gonna tell them these motherfuckers blindsided the kids and they never seen it coming. So we had to go into an alternative method of contacting the elders to come fix this shit. But they not gonna talk to me because he's he's who I'm under. So they don't want to talk to me. I ain't the leader. I'm just the general. They need to talk to the leader and he need to be front and center. They don't talk to bond servants. They're not going to accept him in that capacity as the leader of the dominant tribe of the land. So the people, it's not up to them. It's up to what you call public demand to produce our leader. We did the work done. Now it's about waking the people up, getting them to understand if they want to get this shit over with and get these motherfuckers that's doing this dirt off our land and get our motherfucking lives to where our ancestors died for us to get it to. This is the answer, and it's only one answer. Produce Larry Hoover. His left-hand man is Jeff Ford. His right-hand man is Stan Tukey Williams. And if I'm wrong and they did kill that motherfucker, they better figure out how to get him back alive. They better figure that out because there will be no mercy. This is ain't no mercy involved in this shit. They didn't have none when they was screwing our babies up the ass. They didn't have no mercy on us then. When they was cutting our leaders' heads and genitals off, they didn't have no motherfucking mercy then. When they was roasting us like hot dogs and boiling us in pots, they didn't have no motherfucking mercy then. When they dressed up in white robes and tried to convince you that there wasn't niggas under them robes, they had no mercy on us then. So ain't no mercy. If they waiting on me to have some mercy for them, they waiting on the wrong motherfucker. I ain't got none. I'm going to give them exactly what they earned. I don't want them to have nothing more than what they earned. They works produce their consequence, and it has nothing to do with my personal opinion. You can tell the tree by the fruit it bears. You tell the tree by the fruit it bears. I wasn't even born when I had my last strike. When Malcolm had to run a red herring to save Elijah Muhammad's life, and we had to lose that brilliant man, that was enough for me right there. Then they fucked around and took Martin. At what point do we say enough is a fuck enough? So the sisters can call on somebody bigger and badder than all them motherfuckers, and they did it.
Ooh.
The byproduct of the divine feminine Shakti, Mama Kali in her war mode gonna produce a son that's gonna whoop your motherfucking ass one way or another, depending on what the fight is, depending on how he gonna come. The fight is mental. It's a mind trick and a mind game. The spell is called Kingu. It's an amnesia spell. To break the spell of Kingu, the guy got to find out who the fuck he is in his guide form. The spell broke. Wake these niggas up. That's where we at with it. So they can keep running around asking for cash apps. They phone gonna blow up in their goddamn hand. This ain't about money. It ain't got nothing to do with money. This shit is all about our people. It's about restoring our nations back to what they was when we were tribal confederations on the land. When you hear nation, that's corporation. When you hear the word state, that's corporation. When you hear the word city, that's corporation. The mayor is always a woman. The matriarch of the local city is the mayor. She is the highest ranking matriarch in the city. You have a herd of mayors under a fucking matriarch, and then you have a herd of matriarchs under a grand matriarch. It's just the system of the matriarchal order. And the chiefs of the land job is when the shit ain't right, tear this motherfucker up. Don't stop tearing it up until one of us figure it out. And that's why there's been tore up in our community, because the motherfucking enemy look like us. He looked just
That was
like us.
something that we also discussed today as well, is that, we have, and I talked about this on my live a couple times. I did a live called It Started With Us and Ends With Us. And I did that last November when I put that live out. But hearing you describe what the people look like and how much they look like us and that whole thing, that was a major topic of discussion today between me and sister I was telling you about. And we basically, well, I won't say we, but I will say individuals that look like us had a whole different agenda. We were originally looking at it like we dropped the ball on ourselves because we were given certain responsibilities and certain work that had to be done. There was no reason why the king, who had the ability to assemble 50,000 men, that's an army all by itself. He had the power to assemble 50,000 men.
Quit.
Yes, that's power. So I'm thinking to myself, you were given a specific task and job to do, and we were never supposed to be in the conditions that we were in. But now you're revealing that we were infiltrated by those who looked like us, who had a total different agenda.
Absolutely.
And that caused the crippling of the original indigenous people of the Americas. Now, I did catch wind that there was going to be some, I'm going to blame it on the white man, this, that, and the third. I did catch wind. I did hear some of that in the air. But the way I understand it to be, that it had a lot to do with people that look like us. I want to say us, but it had a lot to do with people that I guess that look like us, and also some of us that were selling themselves out to be comfortable.
Go
Right?
along to get
Okay.
along as I talked about them yesterday.
Okay, so let me tell you, let me just lay it on the line for the listeners. There is going to be destruction in America because they're not going to be satisfied with what's going to be presented. And there isn't going to be any excuse for it. And they don't think or operate the same way that we think and operate. They have a total different set of guidelines and rules and how they do things. And so any of the people that, I guess, what I'm seeing is a cleaning of house, so to speak.
Okay, so
A major cleaning of the house. Major cleaning of the house.
So let me give you some updates. So Trump's still the president first and foremost. Let's get that clear.
Yeah.
Trump came in about 3 weeks ago on Air Force One. He wouldn't have came in on Air Force One if he wasn't the president. The plane Biden been using, getting on, is the prop plane that's at the Castle Rock studio.
Yeah, we saw it.
So look up the White House for those who think I might be making this shit up. Look up the Castle Rock White House office and look at the Joe Biden speeches. One of his speeches, he actually has a breach in the corner of the wall where you can see through the prop. Right in the corner. It's about 6 inches wide. Look through the window. It's not the same scenery as the White House. But pull up the Castle Rock studio and pull up the Trump White House Oval Office, and they're not the same.
Right.
They're similar, but they're not the same.
Right.
But the people been falling for it. So what they was doing, well, they was going underground tunnels during COVID. COVID was shut down. Everything was shut down because they had whole farms of people, humans, in underground caves where they was harvesting adrenochrome from children. Military forces from every country on earth that got a military was involved. The matriarchs took over China. That's posted on my Facebook page. Trump went and got the certificate to the wealth of this land from China where it was hid at in order to prove that we had reclaimed our wealth. That's on my page. I did post about all of that. They've been rounding up those politicians that's been bought, those businessmen who've been bought. They all been being rounded up. There is dossiers in the CIA offices that we took over on every motherfucking politician that ever ran for office. Whether they won or not, there's a full dossier on their involvement in the overthrow of the indigenous people of the land. But because we have the first right of the earth right to the conjure to call the Galactic Federation in to intervene in what was going on, because those motherfuckers don't even belong here. They
Right.
don't vibrate like humans on earth supposed to vibrate, so they can't act like we supposed to act. That's how we know them apart. They don't love like we love. We love without conditions, and they can only love if conditions are in play. They control freaks of other people and how other people live their life. We are matriarchal. We want everybody to live their best life, no matter how you live your best life, and you will help everybody around you. They don't feel like that. They feel like only they are entitled to positions of power and authority and rulership. And only they smart enough to know how to keep us in prison. And only they smart enough to know everything that we don't, because they kept it from us by killing off the ones who was the watchers, the ones in training. So it's just like if mama leave the 13-year-old to babysit the little kids, some big cousins come from out of town, mom and them gone, they just take over the house. Big brother come back, he 20 years old, he come back from college, like, what the fuck is going on? Mom and them ain't gonna appreciate that. That's me. So my job was to kick every one of them motherfuckers out. So I kicked their ass out. All of those positions that they was in that was predicated upon knowing the signs and how to read the language that they was showing us in our face behind our back the whole time. When I figured that shit out, I was able to unravel a secret that kept us in bondage, and it was just a broken mirror spell. The broken mirror spell was to divide the matriarch so that they would never come back together.
Mm.
The only way, you have to call the motherfucker that broke the mirror, that reincarnated in this life, to account for that shit and to reverse the spell, because all of the conjurers, the major conjurers, when the close of the age come, you have to close that shit, because the next generation to take over had to start from a clean slate. Wasn't anybody closing the conjure. Haiti getting fucked up right now because they got an open war conjure out of the Haitian Revolution they never properly closed, because they don't want to honor the priestess who gave her fucking life for their liberation. That's why they've been poor this whole time, and they got the mineral resources for every motherfucker over there to be living high off the hog. But no,
Wow.
they won't close the conjure properly. So we're going to have to either rely on Jamaica to close it, or St. Croix or Belize to close it for them. Somebody with the blood ties to Haiti that know the conjure. Look, Jamaica did they shit Johnny on the spot. It was called the Obey ceremony. They did they shit Johnny on the spot, didn't hesitate, posted that shit for public notice, because we always got to give a public notice and we always got to have a witness. That shit is out there. Haiti was on it. All of their high priests went and did that shit up in the mountains like they were supposed to, on time with time. The people in Haiti got a rebellious spirit from the war. They don't want to listen to, even though the high priestess gave them the keys to getting from under the physical bondage, they can't release their wealth until they honor her by, it's a festival. These stupid motherfuckers, niggas love to party. It's a big ass party for her. But they don't want to give her rights. They don't want to honor her in Haiti as the high priest of the land. She actually in Florida right now, waiting on them to give her just due. She's supposed to be called to Haiti with royal motherfucking honors. And they over there thinking this is some other shit. They getting their ass whipped because they got what you call a negatively polarized energy vortex of a war conjure And that means that at the close of the age, the war's still going on. So Mother Nature gonna do what Mother Nature does. She gonna send every natural disaster to balance the area. And it could possibly sink the Haitian island. The whole Hispaniola, Haiti, Dominica can sink if they don't close the conjure. They haven't done it. And she haven't been contacted, and they know who she is. It's not a secret. I know they know because I know the people that told them. So, and I know they got qualified Hogans down there to close this shit out. They got him in motherfucking Florida from Haiti, and they trying to charge her money to give her honors. That shit don't even make sense. They so strung out on this motherfucking dollar, they strangling the life out of their people.
Yes.
You know,
And that's
so
what that yes, we talked about that. Yes, it's a whole hot ass mess. Um, so basically, with the great mothership now here, and I did not realize that was a message to the world. I had no idea it was a message to the world. That's deep.
well,
What do you see in your from what you know as an outcome for everything that you just told us today?
okay, so this is the way it look right now. This is what I can see from this because I can only see so far. I'm not
Right.
allowed to see too far into the future because that's the divine feminine's job to give us times. My job is to tell you the what. Their job is to tell you the when because no man know the time or the day, but the women know. So when the women flip me the sign, I can read it and tell them what it is. So they got to September 11th to figure out what to do with Larry Hoover before shit started going awry. The first hit that they hit on the 11th is going to be a bad motherfucker. I don't know what they're going to hit, but it's going to be a major monument. It might be the White House. It might be the State Building. It might be something in New York, Chicago. But there's going to be a heavy hit on the 11th if they haven't heard from Hoover. And it's going to just start increasing in frequency and devastation until Hoover addressed the public in the emergency broadcast network that they've been working to set up. So when they shut this, because they're going to shut everything down. When they get tired of the bullshit and they think that nobody's listening correctly, all social media and television will be cut down except emergency broadcast network, and the only motherfucker gonna be allowed to broadcast from there is gonna be President Trump or Larry Hoover. Ain't nobody else gonna be able to speak from there. That's it.
Why didn't Trump, when Kanye West asked him, because Kanye West clearly knows what time it is, because he's got him on his new album, Donda. He's got his son speaking out, on behalf of his father about him trying to get out. He asked Trump to pardon Larry Hoover, and Trump didn't do it.
Well,
we came to the conclusion that the reason why he didn't do it is because he did not want to relinquish power, even though they were told that their time was up. But I just want to get your opinion about that. What's your opinion?
The reason why, because Trump needed me good and pissed off. He needed me good and pissed off, so I won't stop knocking these motherfuckers upside their head with this information until we get a breakthrough. So it was directly to put leverage on one motherfucker, me. That's the same reason Malachi there. It's the same reason Angel Bay there. It's the same reason H Rap there. It's the same reason they ain't let Mumia out. It's the same reason that they ain't let Mutula out. All that shit is a direct confrontation to me to prove it. I done proved it now. So now they ain't got no motherfucking choice but to respond. So they got into the 11th to produce Larry Hoover before the people. because the people need to be addressed by the rightful heir to the throne. And because he the one sitting on the throne, King Solomon, Larry Hoover, they go, and because they gave us the signs and the disasters, Hurricane Larry, and the Mexico hit, right? So the Mexico hit was a 7.4. They've been telling me for weeks to watch Mexico. 7.4 is GD. We greet each other 7.4, folks. Right? So the message is clear to me. So I'm just waiting on the people to start. Like every social media right now should be, everybody who got a social media account need to have a free Larry Hoover now banner or post or something on their page. It shouldn't be anybody that look like us that ain't behind this produce. They got the producer. And Larry not going nowhere if Jeff don't go with him. He ain't going up. He not gonna go if Jeff don't go with him. So to get one is to get two.
Right.
And to get two is to reveal the concealed one, which is Tukey. 3. You not gonna outthink us at this shit because we found out it was a brain game. It was about miseducation versus education. It was about right knowledge versus misinformation. That's what it all boiled down to. So because Malachi gave me the right knowledge, and because my OG Larry said it's a brain bang game, and because Chief Malik told me to put these motherfuckers in the chokehold because it won't be no killing without killing. We just gonna kill y'all in a different way because there's more than one way to skin a cat. So we found out what they was using to oppress us. And that's the same thing we used to break free. Voodoo conjure. Nothing else wasn't gonna work. We tried everything else. We marched, we begged, right? We revolted, went to civil war with them. We lost. We asked them. We joined them. We let them buy our motherfucking leadership. None of that shit didn't get us free. Well, I'm not here to be comfortable as a slave. I either want to be free or I don't want to be here. So since I'm here, and since my people in bondage, I'm in bondage. So if I want to be free, I want my people free. It's the same to me. If my people in bondage to me, I'm in bondage. That's my family. It ain't nothing personal. My mama told me never let nobody take nothing from your brothers and sisters. So I came to get my brothers, they shit, and my sisters, they shit. And I take mine last. I'm the last one standing. Now, in order for me to get my shit, they got to produce Larry. Now, it told us in the book, many of you will be thrown in prison.
Yeah.
Murdered.
Yeah.
Cast aside. And talked about for righteousness' sake. Well, that's Rain Bay. That's Queen Scotty. She here. And she been having me on Instagram for months talking about this shit. But I didn't get the message that the elders from the Starship said give them until yesterday. Because I don't deal with motherfuckers that ain't walking on Earth normally. When they be telling me, I could talk about them aliens and all that shit, but that's misdirection to keep you looking to the scars while they kicking you in the balls. I'm not looking up right now. I'm not gonna look up until that time comes. Well, it's here now. I'm looking up now. It's that time.
And I picked up maybe 3 weeks at the most, maybe, as far as how much time we have. So I know what you said that they have until the 11th to produce them.
That's before it starts. That's before the turmoil starts. It gets worse until he's produced. So I don't know how long it's gonna last. It's up to how perceptive the people is to their own shit. This our own culture We always had a Star family, but the Star family can't do nothing until we call them. But we have to call them according to a specific telephone number. And I was the only one able to unravel the number, so I called them. Jesus on the main line. Mother Isis, they got my motherfucking brothers and sisters. Give me the power to set them free. I thought that's what you was there for, son. What you waiting on? So here we go. The Queen of Heaven and Earth said, go down there, free my daughters, and you can retire from fighting wars. That's what she told me. I done fought them in every motherfucking galaxy that they've been in. And I'm the only motherfucker they can't beat. In my Titan form. So now that they went one-on-one with the great one and took that L, number 7 gonna be shining in their face in real time. Because Larry is the fucking king. Malik Angel Bay is chief mufti and law enforcer of the land. If you don't enforce the law according to my principles, you have what we have now, a fucked up community. And some motherfuckers gotta be punched in the face for you to do the right thing. It ain't personal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm sensing a lot of worry and scared energy from even the white people in America right now. I think they're sensing that something's coming.
Listen, they know. When I gave them the call, they came out in mass. And our people wasn't paying me no attention. Our people wasn't paying me no attention. Now, they don't got to pay me no attention no more. I'm done talking. Except for when a sister like you call, I have to answer. And I got to tell the truth. I'm obligated to tell the truth. I can't give you any misleading information. And if I did, the spirit gonna tell you and you gonna call me on the bullshit instantly.
Yes.
So I'm not even worried about that because I'm just telling them the truth. Yep.
You still down with me on moving the vending machine?
Yep.
All right. I'm you want to drive the truck down there? And I drive the
Yeah, give me 1 minute to finish up this interview and I'll be up.
That's right. I was just gonna leave the truck here.
Oh, but I don't know where you at. Just give me a minute, I'll be out there. Excuse me on that. My little brother needed me to help him do some work. I got
right. It's all good.
It's 619. That's a 619. That's a California area code on the West Coast pop. It's a 440 turnaround to a 620 because the clock just flipped. And the 620 flipped 650 for a home delivery. So this being taken on home from here. So anything that we need to know before we close out?
Nah, I mean that was it. I mean, I just wanted to bring you on so we can get some history behind it, so people could understand who he is. You broke a lot of things down in terms of the history, in terms of the indigenous people of the lands. I don't know that people have ever heard the story told the way you explained it, in terms of the tribes and so forth and so on. And hopefully this gave a confirmation for us as a people. Because a lot of times what I find is that a lot of our people like to listen to this for entertainment purposes. And I think now they're starting to wake up to the fact that this ain't for the play, and this is not entertainment. What you're witnessing is really, Armageddon.
Okay, so before I wrap up, somebody keep asking me about the ship, if it was the one under the Sphinx. No, that the one under the Sphinx is Thoth's personal travel vessel, and it also has the worst weapon. They call it the Planet Splitter.
Yes.
It's called the Gandiva. So it's not the same ship. That one haven't even been turned on yet. Because you gotta have the blood and the spirit of thought for it to even activate. So they can drag it, they can dig it up if they want to. It won't do them no good.
No, it won't. It won't. That technology works a certain specific way, and you would have to know the certain codes and things like that because it's ancient technology, and that's not the that's there, and there's something else that's there as well. And just for the record, for those of you who do not know, the actual original Sphinx, in terms of how it looks, the original Sphinx was actually that of Isis before they went and remodeled it. And many people do not know that.
I actually got a whole post where I had been I had been telling people when just like dry posts that the Sphinx is a woman, and then one day I just did a whole thing to show them that the Sphinx was a woman.
Yeah.
And Isis is a Leo, and that's why she's the lion. And so let me give you a little bit of so if you go to YouTube, Vlad TV, Don Durkee is the Disciple Nation's Griot. He's our historian. He talks about King David crowning of Larry and what took place. And he also got the unity video that's telling these motherfuckers that we all in this shit together. And we might fight among each other, but when the shit come to it, where the rubber meet the road, we one people, one nation, riding together, all factions together at the same time. It's all in the interview with Vlad TV. Let me see what else you asked me. Okay, so I got the Sphinx out, the Vlad TV interview with Don Dirk. Dirk is the historian. He is the law writer for the Disciple Nation. Until you hear from Larry, that's the closest you're going to get besides me on the Disciple side. Other than that, the closest you're going to get to Chief Angel Bay is Farrakhan. That's under the 5, under the Red Lodge.
So he's Chief Angel Bay.
Jeff Ford is.
Oh, Jeff Ford. Okay. What was you saying about Farrakhan?
He's the closest thing you're going to get to Chief Angel Bay as a person to speak. Like, Don Durkee, the closest historian you're going to get to Larry Hoover.
Right.
So, the closest person that's on the street right now to Jeff Ford, Chief Angel Bay, is Minister Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan, he's in under the matriarchal right, because his wife is the matriarch of she's the grand matriarch of the land.
But you know, he's been quiet, fam.
I know.
And I'm wondering about that. I'm starting to wonder.
He gonna tell you why. He's supposed to be quiet right now.
Yeah.
And now, after the 11th is when the nation gonna start speaking out. After the 11th, they ain't gonna say nothing before then.
Okay.
Because they got to give them a chance to comply with the order from the mother plane before they come out and tell you that these motherfuckers is here. Your galactic family want to talk to to Larry Hoover. They not taking no for an answer, and there's nobody else they want to talk to. And he got to have in his left hand Chief Angel Bay, Jeff Ford, and you got to have it his right side, Stan Tukey Williams. This shit don't work no other way.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That's just how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff is the Red Lodge witness. And the two with Larry is fearless. So I'm not worried about it. They not worried about shit either.
Mm-hmm. I want to say to my audience, last year, I don't know if you guys remember mentioning this, and I think I only mentioned it like one time, about there was supposed to be an indigenous, quote unquote, prime minister of the land of the US. There is also a council that's consisting of young and older people, as far as this new council that's supposed to be reestablished here after everything goes down. But there was supposed to be a prime minister of this land. And so I believe who they're talking about is Larry Hoover.
He is the one.
He's the one, yeah. I have heard about that. I didn't know They wouldn't tell me who it was at the time when I was trying to inquire, but I was told about we were supposed to have the indigenous prime minister, but I didn't know who it was. So
Yeah.
when you
So
mentioned it, I said, "Damn, is that the same? Is this the same cat that was supposed to do? You know, this is right before Trump had left." I said, damn, this was supposed to work out a different way, but then we started seeing this whole other shit with this Joe Biden shit, and I'm like, okay, oh, this is a farce. And I told people that was a farce, but I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why are they still trying to hold on when they know their time is up? Like, what's really happening? Now what's
they was
happening is now the ship is here. Also, we told you your time is up.
yeah.
Now we
So
want to
that
speak to your leader, and if you don't produce, we just gonna start lighting shit up.
yeah. Because they're taking it as an assault on the entire galactic council because Earth is under the protection of the Queen of Heaven and Earth. And she can't say nothing until her daughters produce a son that can call her. So since y'all did that, I'm here. So now that she here with the team, they got to respond. I don't care whether they respond or not. I want their ass to get lit the fuck up because these motherfuckers is hard headed. But the problem now is us. It's nobody but
Yes.
us, right?
There's a lot of us in
Canada,
trouble. There's a lot of us in trouble, brother. It is what we did see that. It's a lot of us in trouble. A lot of people are in trouble.
yeah. So the Galactic Council already have a prime minister in Canada. The president of Canada is also the Queen of Canada. The Queen of England has been deposed.
Yes.
The
Yes.
Pope has been deposed. Ain't none of them
Yes.
motherfuckers in power. When you see
Yes.
messages coming from them just codes. They ain't none of them motherfuckers in power no more. All them motherfuckers gone.
Yeah,
It
they
wasn't supposed to be
sure.
it wasn't supposed to be a single man in the Vatican.
They
That's
wiped
what's
them out
why.
over there. They went in and wiped out. They went in and wiped out all the gold, They went in there and confiscated. From my understanding, they went in. They confiscated everything. And then
Yeah,
Bill Gates, check this out. And then Bill Gates got a hold of the Civils, which is why he was under the protection that he was under because they were utilizing them for the protection, right? But what I recently found out was, and that he's currently in a tribunal right now with the Arcturians for crimes against the cosmos. So he's currently on tribunal right now for
he's
that.
also
So he's quiet.
so go and pull up. You can pull this up on the internet. The docket for the Hague in Switzerland, and you will see him and Fauci's name on an indictment under the crimes against humanity in violation of war treaties for creating or for attempting to create weapons, biological warfare weapons that's prohibited by the Geneva Convention. Um, Bill Gates did a presentation in 2005 to sell the COVID, what they call the angel killer, which is supposed to arrest your pineal gland.
Yes.
So he did a whole presentation. That shit on YouTube. You can look it up. It ain't even hard to find. All
Mm-hmm.
this shit is public in the public domain.
Mm-hmm.
The entire 9/11 files been released. All that shit is released unredacted. The Hillary Clinton emails, the Frazzle drip, the motherfucking Pizzagate file, all that shit is open book information now. You can go read it for yourself. You don't need nobody else. The government kept meticulous records of all they dirt. The old man Bush, before they executed his ass, told them they know every fucking thing.
Yeah, they did.
So
Yeah,
they
they
set
did.
the trap at the elections to trap the motherfuckers that was stealing the vote that made your vote be worthless. So they was stealing the vote the whole time. That's how they always knew who would be in presidency. So when Hillary didn't win, they was fucked up. I was too. Because she was the one that the system wanted in office. So
Yep.
I didn't ever think that the white boy that listened to rap and is uncouth with all that money would be the one to win. But he did. When he did, Then I got the knock, said he the one. Watch this motherfucker to see what's going on behind the curtain. And then on my YouTube, on my Facebook page, I recounted all of the shit as it was happening in real time, from the breaching of the caves to the everything, to the fake elections, to the takeover of the government by putting that shaman behind the Pelosi's desk, the Speaker of the House. They call that sinking the battleship. All that shit I posted all that shit in real time. It's all time dated and stamped, and it is undisputable. It's there.
Yeah.
So now that everything is done, this is where Trump doubled back. He probably gonna wait until after the motherfucking lightning strike on the 11th, because our people so stubborn and hard-headed and naive, they don't believe you if your skin is dark as ours.
Woo! Woo!
Because the motherfuckers that look like us told them it was somebody called the white man that held the power, but they didn't know that the white man was a pitch black ass nigga with nappy ass hair, and that nigga gonna be brought out into the public and executed right along with the rest of the motherfuckers if they ain't get
sure
treated
is.
right.
We saw it. We saw it. Everybody that participated in keeping the indigenous people down. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Bye-bye. It was already seen. It's already been seen.
Well,
goodbye.
They can kiss their ass goodbye, because they soul gonna get drugged straight to hell. Because they won't be here.
No, they ain't gonna be here.
Anybody not for the betterment and the uplifting and the fallen humanity will not be here. If they do, they gonna be here just to get executed. And the only reason we gonna execute them here is so they can come back and get it right, because they was misled to begin with. Because if they die here, they gotta come back here.
Yes, they do. And that's a fact. That's a fact.
So a lot of motherfuckers think they're gonna die here. They ain't dying here, because we don't even want their residual energy to return. They gotta go die somewhere else. It won't be here. So when the energy come back, that energy won't be here. If you read in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, you see where he say, I ousted these dark brothers before. Now I'm coming back to oust them again, because y'all stupid motherfuckers gonna open the gate and let them back in. And they open the gate and let them back in with a money conjure. The money conjure was done in Babylon. And it was perpetuated and kept up, and it's called Babylonian Money Magic. It's a whole book, a manual. And it's heavily reliant on the part that you ain't gonna get in the public, called blood rights. And the blood rights is the spilling of the blood of the righteous and the innocent on the land to keep motherfuckers like us from waking up. The only motherfucker gonna wake up, and gonna wake up mad as hell, is gonna be Thoth, because it don't matter what form of oppression you use, he gonna figure out a way to break that shit.